Hello, today we recap a romantic movie in which a mafia kidnaps a young girl and hugs her. Before we start, please subscribe to our channel for more such amazing recaps. Spoilers ahead, chill out, and enjoy. The film begins on a coastal island, where a business deal is going on between two groups. An elderly man, the leader of a Sicilian mafia gang, refuses the deal. One of them tells him that he can stay with one of the 12-year-old girls. The old man responds by saying that his family does not engage in that type of business. The Italian old man approaches his son, leaving his associate to deal with them. His son Massimo is looking at a lovely young lady through binoculars. His father observes the woman through the binoculars. He then advises his son to lead the family. Suddenly, his father is attacked by a rival group and dies instantly. 5 years later, Massimo is seen speaking on behalf of his family, and addressing the recovery of his assets in a meeting. They reject the deal, so he threatens the other party and uses his power to get what he wants. Laura, on the other hand, is the sales director, and she is arguing with her points in front of a panel of company people. They both drive back home after they finish their jobs. Laura starts to get excited and records herself. Massimo, meanwhile, receives a video message from his partner, who wishes to hug him. When Laura returns home, she approaches her boyfriend and attempts to get close to him. She begins kissing him, but he pushes her away and apologizes for not being available. Laura becomes irritated and enters her room. On the other hand, Massimo is in his private jet with his associates. Massimo becomes enraged when Mario informs him that their drugs have been intercepted, and he walks to the back of the plane. Massimo goes inside the plane's cabin to hug the stewardess. Then Massimo's plane lands and he gets off. Laura, on the other hand, begins to enjoy herself by imagining her boyfriend hugging her. Laura is then seen at a party with her boyfriend Martin and his friends. Martin gets up to give a speech, but instead begins singing her happy birthday. Laura then goes to the bathroom. As she walks through the dimly lit area, Massimo surprises her from behind. He inquires, "Are you a lost baby girl?" She walks away silently, saying nothing. She's lying down by the pool the next day, discussing her relationship with her best friend Olga. Suddenly Martin arrives at the pool. Laura asks him why he didn't accompany her on her birthday. To please her, he pulls out a vacation card, but Laura simply pushes him into the pool and walks away angrily. She spends the rest of the day alone. As night falls, she walks alone through Sicily's dark streets. Two men approach her as she walks down an alley, so she runs away to the other side. Nonetheless, she is abducted in the dark by the Massimo gang. After some time, she finds herself in a large bedroom. She is puzzled because she has nowhere to go, and the door appears to be locked. Someone opens the lock from outside and leaves. Laura rushes out of the room and down the stairs, arriving at the open living space. Then she sees a giant painting with a picture of her. Massimo then appears behind her and inquires as to whether she is lost. Laura faints the moment she turns around. As she regains consciousness, Massimo places an ice cube in her mouth, but she spits it out and lashes out at him. In response, he pushes her down onto the sofa and offers her a drink. Then Massimo gives her an explanation about why she is here. When his father died 5 years ago, he claims to have seen her face. Since then, he's been searching for her all over the world. Until one day, he saw her at the airport. Laura refuses to believe him, and informs him that she has a boyfriend and a life. Massimo then pulls out some photos of Martin with another girl. Laura begins to leave when she sees them. As a result, Massimo pushes her back onto the sofa, and tells her that he will not do anything to her, unless she gives him her permission. He also threatens her, saying he will not tolerate disobedience. He then tells her she has 365 days, and he will go to great lengths, to make her fall in love with him. When Laura hears that, she rushes back to the exit. Massimo grabs her and pushes her into the pillar. Mario unexpectedly enters the room, and informs him that the parcel has arrived. Domenico then takes Laura away, while Massimo walks outside to deal with the parcel. He goes into the dungeons, where a man is chained to a stone. Massimo tells him that he will not punish him, until he discovers that he is selling children in a brothel. The chained man orders him to stop and shoot him, to which Massimo responds by threatening to kill him. Laura tries to escape and approaches the garden, but stops when she sees the mobsters shooting the parcel. She faints again after seeing that. She wakes up in a black nightgown the next morning, and notices Massimo staring at her. He tells her she must not have seen that, and then goes on to explain the assassination. Meanwhile, Laura demands her phone and laptop, but Massimo refuses. When he tells her to get ready for shopping, she responds by hitting him. As their rage grows, she slaps Massimo as he pushes her down. Then he walks away and tells her to get dressed. She later walks into the yard and eats a delicious breakfast. After that, Massimo takes her in the car with him. They go to several fashion stores, and Laura buys dozens of expensive dresses and shoes. Laura is in a lingerie store, trying on a lovely dress. She tries to push Massimo away when he walks in, but he grabs her by the throat, and says he can watch it whenever he wants. As a result of this, she becomes enraged and runs away. She tries to escape and approaches police officers for assistance. However, when Massimo arrives and the officer vanishes, Massimo then tells her to give up and stop resisting. Laura eventually gives up and politely requests her laptop, phone, and some normal food. When she returns home, she discovers black lingerie for the night. Laura gets dressed and walks over to the pool area, where a magnificent dinner table has been set up. She inquires about his occupation. Massimo responds that he owns a number of businesses, including hotels, nightclubs, and restaurants. Laura returns to her room. She discovers her laptop and phone on the bed. Later that night, Massimo enters her room and observes her sleeping. Laura awakens the next morning, to find him in her bed next to her. She then takes off his clothes and goes to the bathroom to shower. Massimo awakens and joins her in the shower. Laura stares at him as water falls on him. Massimo approaches her, and she starts to touch him before stopping and turning around. Massimo suddenly grabs her by the neck, and asks her not to play with him. He then drives her to the airport, and straps her into his private jet seat. He then starts touching her sweet spot. Just as she starts to enjoy it, Massimo pulls away and walks to the front. Laura exits the plane, frustrated. Their adventure leads them to Rome, where they meet Massimo's cousin. Laura, meanwhile, eats ice cream and begins to tempt the boys. Massimo asks her to stop it. Laura later returns to the suite, completely wet. Laura knocks on Massimo's room door at night and walks into the room. She sees a large painting of him with a lion. To keep her under control, Massimo ties her to the bed and invites a girl to show her what he wants. Laura observes the girl carrying out her task, and she gets excited by it. When Massimo is finished with the girl, Massimo approaches Laura's bed. But when he tries to sleep with her, Laura begs him to stop and let her go. So he does. Laura arrives downstairs the following day wearing a very short dress. Dominique claims that Massimo is going to kill them both. When Laura and her assistant arrive at a party, he instructs her to wait at a table with drinks for a moment, but she decides to go to a room where Massimo was. She is dragged outside, where he criticizes her for wearing a short dress. However, she doesn't give a damn and starts having fun. She flirts with other guys to make Massimo jealous. The situation becomes terrible, when Massimo's friend attempts to disgrace her. Then Massimo interrupts, threatening this man with a gun. Following the party, Massimo and Mario argue about the club's lost business and strained relationships. Laura intervenes and apologizes for her foolishness. Massimo lashes out at her, initiating a fight. Laura storms off to the front of the yacht, furious, where she unintentionally topples and falls into the deep waters. Massimo dives after her and saves her life. After the incident, she awakens in bed to find him by her side. He politely asks why she is being so disobedient. He sits beside her and gently caresses her cheek. He then attempts to stand up, but she pulls him back and approaches him slowly. They hugged passionately, after she finally gave in to his long-awaited desire. After they hug, Massimo informs her that they must attend a ball. They arrive at the ball where the couple dances. Anna arrives after the dance, and declares that Massimo is her first and last lover. She then informs him that she is going to finish Laura. Laura decides to leave as soon as she learns this. That night, Massimo approaches her again and they hug passionately. After hugging her, Massimo tells her to go to Poland, to visit her family. Laura is taken aback by the sudden separation. Despite this, she drives alongside Domenico. Laura travels to Poland to visit her best friend Olga. They spend time together, and talk about everything that has happened in Laura's life. Following that, they receive a wonderful spa treatment, and Olga takes her to a nightclub. As they sip their drinks, Olga walks away with another man, and Laura runs into Martin by accident. He tries to defend himself and begs Laura to return. Their argument becomes heated, and Martin follows her to the apartment, where Massimo is already waiting, and then Martin leaves. Meanwhile, Laura approaches Massimo and expresses her disappointment in him, for leaving so abruptly. Her rage quickly turns to pleasure, as they both enjoy themselves. Laura notices some marks on Massimo's chest while hugging him. She then bursts into tears, and tells him that she doesn't need 365 days to love him, because she already does. The following morning, Massimo proposes to Laura to marry. She is surprised to discover a ring already on her finger. When she says yes to him, the shopping begins. Laura tries on various dresses before purchasing them. Later, they both attend a wedding where Massimo meets her parents. Massimo informs them, upon their inquiry, that he is a gangster with all the wrong intentions for their daughter. The parents take it with a smile. Laura requests permission for Olga to attend the wedding. Massimo agrees, and Mario gets up to prepare for her arrival. We see Olga excitedly coming to meet Laura. They both go to the bridal store to try on gowns. Olga seduces Domenico and plays with him. Everyone's mouths drop open when Laura appears, because she is breathtakingly beautiful. Laura then makes a phone call to Massimo. Meanwhile, Mario receives a confidential call stating that they are going to finish Laura. He attempts to contact Massimo and Laura. Unfortunately, they are both very busy. As a result, he urges the driver to rush to the house. During their conversation, Mario enters the house and rushes to the pool to speak with Massimo. Meanwhile, Laura's car drives through a tunnel, but does not emerge on the other side. The call between the couple in love is abruptly cut off, and although Mario has reached Massimo, it is too late. Massimo falls to his knees in times of extreme stress and depression, and flashbacks of Laura's face appear in front of him. So this was the story of the film 365 Days, released in 2020. If you like the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.